If you've been going around the good old internet looking for the right podcast to fulfill your New York Yankees needs, well, I'll be the first to deliver the good news to you. You have found it. Here on Yapping Yankees with me, your host, Mike Scudero, you and I will be discussing the latest news, takes, and talk throughout the entire Yankee universe. Oh, and there may be some ranting on my behalf. Yeah. Anyway, what do you say we get to it? Let's get to yapping!
Driven the other way and deep. Jimenez will not make the play. Gone. Aaron Judge, a two-run shot.
It's an 8-game streak snap, but he skies one deep to right field. Had go back. Track. Wall. See ya. A two-run home run for Judge. Yankees lead 2-0. He's got a lot. Deep to center field. Rodriguez back. Track. Wall. See ya. Into the Yankee bullpen. A home run for Judge. His 15th. It's 2-0 Yanks. Max drill to left field and deep. See ya. A long home run into the second deck. Yankees go back to back. And they lead 4-0. And he's done it again. See ya. A long home run into the second deck. 2-0 Yanks. High drive, left field. Ward back. Track. Wall. See ya. A long two-run home run for Judge. 2-1 Yankees. Goes again. That one's real deep to left field. Going back, Ramos. Track. Wall. See ya. Welcome home, Aaron Judge. A 3-run home run. And the Yankees lead 3-1. High fly ball, center field and deep. Motto's back on the track at the wall. See ya! A long home run to center field. His second of the night. And the Yankees lead 4-1. Driven deep to left field. Ramos back. Track. Wall. See ya! A long home run and a dream weekend for Aaron Judge. It's 2-0 Yanks.
Audio, of course, in courtesy of the Yes Network for all those Judge Homer clips. Did you really expect any different kind of start to today's episode with the captain's otherworldly gameplay? Come on now. And with that being said, hello there, my fellow Yankee fans, and welcome to episode 221 of the Yapping Yankees podcast. As always, I am your host, Mike Scudero, who some may even call the Yankee Yapper with the best yap around, here on June 2nd, 2024, with another extra large order of the Yappuccino for each and every one of you guys. Those clips were a compilation of all of Judge's homers since we last spoke just 2 weeks ago. Yeah, all that was just in like 13 days since he didn't homer today.
Holy crap!
Right? I mean, come on. Oh my gosh. Well, it's good to be back, my friends. The end of another 2-week little break here after my trip to Lake George last weekend with my lovely girlfriend. Obviously did not end up doing an episode, as you guys saw last weekend, or I guess didn't see. But we'll get to Lake George in a second. It's just great to be back, my friends. Upload schedule's been a bit odd of late, I know, but as I said last episode 2 weeks ago, between holidays and personal stuff, just a lot going on lately, my good people. What can I tell you? But the bi-weekly stuff the past couple of weeks is done with. You've got me for a bunch of weeks in a row now, I promise. I think I'll even do an episode for Father's Day weekend this year, which I usually don't do, but this year is different because of the 1 or 2 extra weekends of late I've had to miss here and there, so, and I don't want that to become a regular thing, so look forward to that. But yeah, it's awesome to be doing another episode with you today, guys. I'm glad I was able to, because honestly, earlier today, I was feeling a little off when I got out of bed this morning. It was just, I got up and everything was spinning. I had some nausea. Every once in a while, every once in a blue moon, not common at all, but just every once in a blue moon, I'll come down with like a little spell of what feels like vertigo, which for those who don't know is one of the worst things you could feel. It absolutely sucks. I've never been drunk before, but I imagine it is the closest feeling to being drunk while not actually being drunk. because everything spins. You're nauseous. You feel like you can't and don't want to move, can't go anywhere. Believe it or not, and this was not one of my better decisions, but believe it or not, a couple of years ago I had a case of it, and I actually drove out to my job still while having it. And my job was like 35 miles away at the time. Now my current job is 40, even a little bit longer. I do a lot of driving. But yeah, I even drove with it, which I was safe, thank God. And I was able to concentrate. I locked the hell in, trust me. But still probably not a wise decision to do. It probably should have just worked from home that day, especially since I had the option. But some of us have our stupid moments, what can I tell you? But today was a reoccurrence of it, and I just felt like crap for a couple hours, but put some food in my body, drank some OJ for some vitamins and for some energy. And after a couple of meals, I think I started to shake it off a little bit. And now a few hours even more later on, it's basically completely gone. So I was able to shake it off and get into the mood for today's episode. And thank God, because not only do we have so much to catch up on and talk about today, but the hype from today's game, which we'll get to in a second. But yeah, I mean, I had to do today's episode. Under no circumstances was I to miss it. This morning when I had this little spell of dizziness going on, I was like, this better go away because I've got to lock in for today's episode because it is a doozy today, people. I usually never even use that sort of a cringe word, so that's when you know. Like, that's how you know how crazy and necessary today has been to do an episode. But I'm just so glad I was able to shake that off, and I was glad I was also able to have an awesome trip at Lake George, again with my girlfriend last weekend. We had a great time. I always have such a great time when we go there. This was my second time there. Without getting into more specific details as to what we actually did, I mean, it was a bunch of things. We did the Haunted Night tour at the Fort William Henry. We went on a beautiful dinner cruise on the Sacrament boat, the French boat, where you have dinner, live music performance, and just beautiful views of nearly the entire lake during the sunset. Just amazing. Even when it rained a little bit on Memorial Day, we made the most of that and went to the arcade for a couple hours on the main strip there, one of the many arcades there. It's the first time I was in an arcade in like 15 years. I was like a little kid again. It was so much fun. Just did a bunch. A lot of walking around. Even did some wine tasting at a winery. I'm not even an alcohol drinker. Wine is the only alcoholic drink I will have, but still not really in my typical itinerary whenever I go somewhere, but even that was nice. Just did so much to do up there, so much to see. It's just beautiful. If you haven't been to Lake George, get your ass up there ASAP. It is awesome there. I love it. Cannot wait until the next time we go back. I think we'll probably be returning Labor Day weekend, but that is not a definite as of yet. We will see what happens. But this time around for Memorial Day weekend, awesome. Awesome. Cannot say enough good things about Lake George. But then after that, before you know it, guys, as I was saying at the end of last episode a couple of weeks ago, that when we speak again, it would be June likely if I didn't do an episode last weekend, which obviously I did not. Here we are in June, which I can't even believe it, honestly, how fast time goes. I can't comprehend it. I literally feel like opening day and talking about it was 2 minutes ago. And that was back in March, which is already officially 3 months ago. It's ridiculous. It's absurd how fast time goes. Well, you know what else is absurd? Jaw-dropping, surreal, incomprehensible. Some might even say euphoric. How the Yankees have continued to play even into the month of June now. And some of you might be saying, Mike, why the hell are you so amped up for this episode? Well, how could you not know the answer to that? I shoot back at you. I am fresh on this mic right now off of this. You didn't have enough clips of Judge before? How about this epic one for his surreal counterpart, Juan Soto, from today's ninth inning?
Driven deep to right field. There it goes. See ya. A monster two-run home run. And the Yankees have come back to take a 6-5 lead. Oh, my. He crushed that.
Oh my gosh. Down 5-4. And this guy in such dramatic fashion, just when you think you have seen it all from him, it just launches one to the moon and puts the Yankees ahead 6-5 in a game where they would ultimately win 7-5 to complete the sweep in San Francisco this weekend and cap off what was a 7-2 West Coast trip, which is something the Yankees in many years past usually struggle with. This time, they go 7-2. I just don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say. I'm glad that for the most part, we have started off this episode with the likes of Aaron Judge, the glorious Yankee captain, who I still cannot believe that some Yankee fans, not nearly all of them, but some out there, managed to actually be ready to give up on after just a few weeks of slumping earlier on in the year. And his counterpart, Juan Soto. It's actually tough to even call either one of them a counterpart because, quite frankly, the both of them, as of this moment in the season, are in a race against each other for the MVP award. That's really all I can say. These two batting back-to-back, these two behemoths, lefty, righty, 2 and 3 in the order, back-to-back. We are witnessing a duo for the ages. The best duo in Major League Baseball right now. In a Major League Baseball sport right now that also features the likes of Mookie Betts and Shohei Ohtani on the same team over on the Dodgers. Better than them right now. A couple of the only players in the entire sport who have OPSs of over 1,000 right now. The only two, and they're on the same team batting one after the other in the same lineup. And if they keep this up throughout the entire season, and dare I say even take it through to the promised land, you will be talking about one of the better duos in the history of Major League Baseball. Now, I know what some might be saying, Mike, it's only the first week of June, you need to calm the hell down. What I say back to you is maybe you are not fired up enough. Because we are witnessing history between these two right now. How could this not excite you as someone who loves baseball, even if you don't like the Yankees? These two, along with others too, spritzed into there, but these two are making the Yankees appear to be undefeatable. And in light of these two doing what they're doing, the starting rotation, which we'll definitely get to later on as well, doing what they are doing, and the bullpen, even though they've been struggling a little bit more than usual of late, even having done what they've been doing, this team is not a force to be reckoned with. This team is the force to be reckoned with. This 2024 New York Yankees team right now, as we sit after this final game in San Francisco on June 2nd, is unstoppable. It has been a long time since I have felt this way about any Yankees team, since I have seen the kind of production I have seen from any Yankees team. It's been a while. This team's fight, this team's spirit, this team's grit, their inability to give up, their inability to go outside of their strike zone, to make immediate on-the-fly adjustments, and how they have worked like nothing less than one of the most well-oiled machines I have seen in my time watching baseball. They are quite literally just unfreaking stoppable. We are witnessing an all-time pairing with the captain and Juan Soto. We are witnessing all-time numbers from the starting rotation and the overall record of the entire team as they continue to just steamroll Major League Baseball. And my advice to everybody out there, as I am trying to do in real time as well, is to just take it all in. Take it all in. Because if this continues, we are going to continue to be witnessing some remarkable history here, people. Keep on enjoying it. And don't take it for granted. Because things like this do not happen often at all. You do not get Juan Soto's every day. You do not get Aaron Judge's every day. Sometimes you don't even get them in a generation. But we're getting them both right now on the same team, in the same lineup, one right after the other. And even Michael Kay and Paul O'Neill on the S Network were putting up the numbers, the OPS numbers, all the rest of the numbers that they both have. and just saying how unfair it is for basically any opposition to have to navigate through those two. It's basically a cheat code on the professional level, and that's exactly what it is. That's what I've been referring to it as, a cheat code. It is not fair, but hey, that's what the Yankees have assembled. I said from day one, even to all of the people out there who thought I was just over-exaggerating and being a fanboy, I was not. I've been watching this kid play baseball since he was 19 years old on the Washington Nationals, that Juan Soto will single-handedly play a huge part in changing everything around here. That is exactly what he has done, and then some. Along with Aaron Judge continuing to be Aaron Judge and having one of the better Mays we have ever seen from any Major League Baseball player in history. The month of May for Aaron Judge and the Yankees overall. Can you even comprehend what we saw? And like I said, even with the conclusion of this Giants series, it has stampeded its way right through into the month of June. Not enough words can be said here. I mean, just listen to these numbers from these two. As of conclusion of today's game, Aaron Judge, who was batting at one point in April, maybe around the middle to the end of the month, was batting in the 170s or 180s. He's now batting 288. His average is hovering around 290 now. And it's probably only going to go higher and higher. 21 home runs. 21 home runs. I mean, how many home runs... How many clips did I have for you at the start of today's show opening? What was that, 9 home runs? And that was just since May 19th, when we last spoke 2 weeks ago on my mother's birthday. 2 weeks ago, all of those home runs, let alone for the remainder of May that he had 14 plus home runs in the entire month of May. Do you realize what kind of pacing over the course of an entire season that is? Obviously, it's not maintainable throughout a whole season. Slumps happen, especially with home runs. But my God, can you even comprehend what that is? 21 home runs on June 2nd. His pacing right now is rivaling his 62 home run season once again. 47 RBIs. 1,075 OPS. The guy reached base 4 more times today, as if he needed that. Even outside of just those numbers, you look at it, 61 games into the year. His on-base percentage is .417. His slugging is .658. It's ridiculous. You can't even wrap your mind around it. And if you thought that was a lot, then here are Juan Soto's numbers. Batting .322. 17 home runs himself. After that monster dramatic home run in today's game, 53 runs batted in, 1,031 OPS. And if you want any other numbers as well, much like Aaron Judge, he has a .417 on-base percentage as well, with a .614 slugging, damn near mirroring Judge's numbers. And again, these two are batting left-right, one after the other, in the same lineup, on the same damn team. People thought I was over-exaggerating when I was talking about what this kid is capable of when the trade was announced with San Diego. People were actually telling me that they think it's a huge mistake to part ways with some of the pitching depth. Yeah, certain guys, it was tough to part ways with Michael King in particular. But my God, what you're getting back, I promised everyone, you will not miss those guys whatsoever with Juan Soto's capabilities. Some people actually went on and on with me, sticking with their ridiculous opinion. And many of them admitted to me that they haven't even seen Juan Soto play as much. I saw this guy help lead the Washington Nationals to a title at age 19. I know what this kid's capable of, even if he had a couple of down-ish years with San Diego. Well, that just goes to show he probably just wasn't happy playing there, because this year, my God in heaven. Enough words cannot be said, guys. And even with everybody else in the lineup, look at everybody else. Volpe leading off, his average is back up to 284. He had that unbelievable RBI triple in the 9th inning of today's game as well. He had his 21-game hitting streak. Just ended a few days ago, but he had his hit streak. He has a still ongoing 29-game on-base streak. So that's your 1 through 3. Volpe, Soto, Judge. And then after that, while everybody else may not be anywhere near what those guys are, especially Soto and Judge, you still have them sprinkling in their contributions here and there, and they're not doing terrible. Stanton, while he could be doing better, in my opinion, still has a good amount of home runs this year. I mean, right now, he's sitting at 14. He's got 32 RBIs. Had a nice RBI ground rule double into Triples Valley in San Francisco in the 9th inning today. That drove in the 7th run of the game. Alex Verdugo, at this point I'm just calling him Mr. Clutch, because even if his numbers aren't crazy, like they don't blow you out of the water, 261 average, 765 OPS, which is definitely not bad. Not bad at all. Look at his numbers in the clutch. Take a quick look whenever you get the opportunity, let alone the left field that he is playing defensively out there. Unbelievable. See the things you could actually accomplish when you actually do what I have been bitching about for years now. When you actually have an outfielder playing in the outfield. Amazing what happens when that takes place, right? Because for the last couple of years, all we have seen are experiments out there in left field. We have seen them try IKF out there. We saw them try Oswaldo Cabrera out there. Even if they had their good times out there, they're not traditional outfielders. And you even had to deal with Pereira out there for a while when, yeah, there were worse options, but they didn't have a legitimate, respectable, major league proven left fielder. That has changed with Alex Verdugo. And you account for what he has done in the clutch, even continuing today. Having to shift and switch mindset in the middle of an at-bat when Blake Snell had to leave today's game early with an injury. In the middle of his at-bat with a 1-1 count, had to face an entirely new arm mid-at-bat out of the bullpen. And while, yes, that presents a challenge for the pitcher as well, tough for both sides, Verdugo still locked in, and with the bases juiced, hits one right down the line to tie the game at 3 in a huge spot with the Yankees down 3-1. So Verdugo has contributed beyond. He has been an awesome addition to this team. And I didn't think it would be bad. I just kept on saying in the offseason, if you recall, that if that was their only outfield move, since it was before Soto, then it wouldn't be great because they need more. But right when they got Juan Soto, I was like, yep, let's give Verdugo this chance. Could work, you never know. And it very much has. Rizzo could be doing better as well. But he's had his good moments. He's had his bad moments. Bit of a mixed bag with him. I'd probably say a little bit more bad than good. He went 0 for 5 today, so his average is unfortunately down to 240. The OPS has taken a hit, 661. And the defense is a little baffling at times still. But, I mean, as long as everybody else is doing what they're doing, I guess you could handle having occasional sprinkles of contributions in there and have it be okay. I hear everybody going on and on about Ben Rice, hoping that he gets an opportunity soon because there are times where Rizzo's just a bit tough to watch. Don't necessarily blame those people because Rizzo, for the most part, has been a tough watch, but even he has his moments where he comes through. So I'm willing to be a little bit patient there while other greatness is taking place. Then you have Gleyber Torres, who I have really whined about for a while, and rightfully so, because up until a couple of weeks ago, give or take, it was absolutely putrid to watch him in just about every end of baseball, base running, defense, offense, anything you could think of. But as of the last couple of weeks, he has been a bit better. I mean, he started today's 9th inning rally, in case anybody forgot, amidst all the epicness. He started off the inning against Duvall with the base hit right up the middle, and the Yankees really manhandled him, Duvall, out of the Giants' bullpen, their closer, for someone who throws 100+, but Gleyber started that rally. His defense is still maddening at times. His base running is still maddening at times. And while his offense, on an overall basis, on a big picture of the entire season so far, still definitely leaves a lot to be desired. But of late, he's been better. If he hits another extreme slump coming up, then I'm going to be just about done with him, which he inevitably will because everybody slumps. So I'm just about at the end of my rope with Gleyber. But right now, as long as he's going to turn on the Jets a little bit more, I'm not going to have a problem with that. Last 7 games, he's batting .292 with a .393 on-base percentage. The slugging just isn't there since the extra base hits aren't really there. He's only got 4 homers on the season, so the power's not there. So the OPS and the slugging, those are going to, the OPS because of the slugging are going to take hits because of that. But it's been a little bit better of late. Last 7 to 15 games or so. Even the last 15 games batting .250. It's not as bad as his overall average, .230. It's been a little bit better lately, I guess. It's whatever. But I won't deny contributions from him or anybody. The catching tandem's doing what they do. Austin Wells is continuing to get a little bit more results here and there, but he and Trevino are doing well. Trevino back down to earth a tiny bit with the bat of late, but he's still doing his thing. Definitely did a great thing by beating out that potential double play ball after Glaber's leadoff single in today's 9th inning, because if that ended up being a double play, which I definitely did not expect Trevino to beat out, so credit to him there, then who knows what would have happened after that. Volpe probably wouldn't have been nearly as inspired and or motivated as he was to hit that triple. So credit to him as well for that. Still been fine defensively, so that's all good. DJ is back, and we'll talk about that a bit more when talking about injury and roster news. I mean, he's just sort of there. It's good to have him back at third base. He's made some good plays over there already. The bat hasn't really fully come back yet, but... So this team is just hitting on all cylinders, guys, especially in the lineup. I mean, how could you not love every single second of this lineup, particularly with Aaron Judge and Juan Soto? Every single time the lineup turns over, or every single time the game starts and it's time to see them bat for the first time on a particular day or night. Any time that happens, I feel like at least one of them will do something, anything, every single time the lineup comes to them. As a fan, that is a wonderful, glorious feeling. And it has been a very long time. And I find myself hard-pressed to even really think of anybody else, especially since I've watched, any other pairing on the Yankees that I have felt that way with. It's tough to really come up with much of anything, guys. Maybe those who have been alive for far longer than me can come up with others, maybe a Mantle and Maris. But other than that, I'm hard-pressed, if I'm being honest. So them leading the way with the offense, I just find myself, speaking of being hard-pressed with just what else really that could even be said about them. It's just unbelievable. And you would think for as amazing as that is, that's where it ends when it comes to the Yankees and how godly they've been playing like. It doesn't end there. Because as great as a killer offense is, with two iconic superstars in the likes of Aaron Judge and Juan Soto leading said offense, in order to achieve, just through to the first week of June, this current 42-19 record that the Yankees now possess after sweeping the Giants, in order to achieve such an accomplishment and reach such a goal, you'll need more than just a killer offense. You'll need some good pitching. And saying that the Yankees have had good pitching, particularly when it comes to the starting rotation, is quite literally the understatement of the 21st century. This rotation, while I did have faith in the offense from the beginning, and they have pulled their occasional vanishing acts here and there so far this season, as any offense occasionally would, it's part of baseball. But the one thing that I did not expect at all, the one thing that I expected to be a massive problem, especially in light of losing Garrett Cole, was the starting rotation. While I will pat myself on the back until the cows come home for my offensive expectations, especially with Juan Soto in particular, and of course Aaron Judge goes without saying, I cannot comprehend feeling like he was washed after just 3 weeks or so of struggling. Cannot comprehend thinking that way. But while I will pat myself on the back to the end of time for that, I am equally as willing to admit how wrong I was about the rotation. Now, do I blame myself for being that wrong? No, I don't, because I think a lot of other people shared the exact same concerns, and reasonably so. Because in a rotation that had a lot of question marks in it coming into this season, now having to go at least the first couple of months without baseball's top arm in 2023 in Garrett Cole, I think those concerns were plenty reasonable, to be quite honest with you. But still, that doesn't change the fact that I was spectacularly, and some might even say hilariously wrong, and I am fine with admitting that. I mean, even just recently, up until a few nights ago, guys, no starter throughout the entire Yankees rotation had officially allowed more than 2 runs in any outing that went 5 innings or more. They went 15 straight games throwing at least 5 innings and allowing 2 or less runs. Guys, that set a new Major League Baseball record. It hasn't been done since 1893. That is 131 years ago, for those who are not good at math. Even beyond that, Luis Gil made it 16 in a row with his 8-inning, 1-run masterclass on Wednesday night. And we'll get to talking more about Luis Gil later on as well, who was even named Player of the Week on Yes, and deservedly so. That kind of production will win you a lot of games. As the Yankees had done very much so throughout the entire month of May, obviously, as I had mentioned earlier. The only reason the streak didn't go to 17, by the way, even more, was because for Rodon's start on Thursday night, he left the game having only allowed 2 runs through 6+, with runners on second and third, no one out. And Ian Hamilton actually almost got the Yankees out of trouble, but Caleb Ferguson came in and naturally gave up the 3rd run to absolutely no one's surprise, and that runner was unfortunately Rodon's responsibility. So, considering that, very well could have continued. Streak very well could have reached 17 in a row. And damn near did. So that streak that had gone on since May 11th, just until a few days ago, just before this weekend, that one ended just 2 days before the month of June. Bonkers. Those kinds of numbers. People really started to keep an eye on this as it really officially broke the Major League Baseball record. It was as of Tuesday after Nestor's 5 1/3 2-run outing that people really started to see that it hit 15 games in a row with this happening. Absolutely unbelievable. And speaking of Nestor, he's definitely the worst starter of all of them in this rotation right now. But even with that being said, he is still, the record isn't really great, but I also don't give a crap about pitcher wins and losses, as we know, unless it is an actual legit record that owns up to what they're truly doing and isn't shorting them out on either wins or losses. But even in Nestor's case, he's 3-4. His ERA is 3.46. That's the Yankees' worst pitcher. In some rotations, some people would dream for that to be their best. It's the Yankees' worst. 3.46 after today's game. Even a game in which he really did not have his best stuff, as he continues to struggle starting on the road. But then you take a gander at everybody else. Even Cody Poteet, who had to be called up in place of a certain somebody we will talk about more in news. But even he was called back up to start yesterday, and even though he didn't have as crisp as stuff as he did in his start in Cleveland, even his ERA through his first 11 innings of 2024 is 2.45. Clark Schmidt, ERA was at 2.52. And all of you must know out there why I say was. Again, get to it in news. How about Carlos Rodon? He's 7-2 with a 3.09 ERA. Marcus Stroman, 5-2 with a 2.73 ERA. And last but certainly not least, mentioned him briefly before when he carried on the streak with his start on Wednesday night, and after said Wednesday night start, Mr. Luis Gil, who these days I am calling interim Garrett Cole. 7-1 with an ERA of 1 199. Michael Kay said something also on the Yes Network today I want to give him credit for, and he's not entirely incorrect, if at all. If the All-Star game was much closer than it otherwise is in reality, let's say it's within the next week or so, Luis Gil may very well be starting said All-Star game. What this man, who is fresh off of Tommy John surgery and was just given a chance in this rotation after Garrett Cole's injury was announced, has accomplished in the absence of one of the top arms in the entire world right now in Garrett Cole cannot be possibly overstated enough. 7-1 and 199. 8 innings of 1-run ball in Anaheim, only 2 hits given up. The strikeout number still as there as ever, as his stuff is as electric as ever. The one problem we always said with Luis Gil was him having a lack of control and command. And I have said forever, even when we saw him pitch in 2022 and we saw the potential, that if he ever gets his stuff under control, this kid is going to be a freaking problem for any lineup he faces. Ladies and gentlemen, we have seen a number of starts now where said stuff is very much under control. And what is happening in front of our very eyes? Exactly as I said, Luis Gil is a freaking problem. And he is putting up ace numbers and then some. Can you even imagine who the hell predicted that it would be on this much of a scale in Garrett Cole's absence? And yeah, the Yankees were definitely dealt a heavier blow and another challenge of late with the announcement of another starting pitcher injury that I alluded to just before that, again, we will get to in news. But hey, then they call up Cody Poteet to help them out a little bit yesterday, and even he has himself a nice outing. So it's just the starting rotation cannot be given enough credit. So you combine this, you combine the offense, and despite their occasional recent struggles, you combine the bullpen, and you have a 42-19 unstoppable Yankees team as we sit here on June the 2nd, 2024. I never could have predicted it being this great right now. And you could say it's early, but guys, we're getting a decent way in now. We're now more than 60 games into the season. That's not a beyond small amount. Yeah, you're not even halfway. Of course, there's so much season left to play. I'm not denying any of that. But it's also not April anymore. We're into June. And the Yankees even just had as nice of a win as they had today, to pick up right where May left off. A month in which they lost only 7 games. They only lost 7 games. The whole month of May, guys. If you go back to the first of the month, you even look back through it all. To end the Orioles series, they had lost the game on the 2nd, so that's 1. Then you keep on scrolling. They lost the 3rd game of the Astros, that's 2, at Yankee Stadium. Then they lost the 2nd game against the Rays in Tampa, so that's 3. Then you move on to the Twins. They annihilated them, didn't lose at all. Annihilated the White Sox, didn't lose at all. Lost the 1st game against the Mariners, as well as the 2nd. So that's 4-5 in that series that they split at home. They lost the final game in San Diego last Sunday, that's 6. And then they lost the 1st game in Anaheim on Tuesday, that's 7. And they have not lost since, as they are currently riding a 5-game win streak to rival their prior 7-game win streak. And they're also the only team in May, amidst all of that, to not have lost a single series the entire month. And they're still yet to lose a series at home, as the Mariners one was a split, not a lost series. You can go on and on with what this team has accomplished. Hell, I'm about 40 minutes in right now, and we haven't even gotten to any of the other segments yet. That's how much there is to discuss the last 2 weeks and over the course of the entire season alone so far. You can just keep going when it comes to what this team has accomplished. It is nothing short of completely and utterly remarkable. I never could have imagined it. I imagined the offense would be something of what we've seen, especially with Judge and Soto. I was vibrating with excitement from the start, from spring training, even before that, the second the Soto trade was announced. I could barely even sit in a chair calmly without shaking from excitement. And now we're seeing that play out. And now even the starting rotation, which I never could have imagined, doing what they're doing, leading to what we have now. I am beside myself with just plain euphoria, if I'm being honest. Judge and Soto are just unfair. They're a cheat code. The offense is fun for the most part. Can't be fun every single day, obviously. Every offense is going to have their difficult times. And the overall team, it's a pleasure to watch in real time. They're just unstoppable. What else can I say? What else can I or anybody else pretty much say at this point? That's really it, guys. Was that a good enough 40-minute plus opener for you? Oh my gosh. I'm having fun, guys. Despite all of that we ran through, yeah, we still have plenty more to get through to catch up on these last 2 weeks. Went through a lot of the general overview and a decent amount of details there that we will continue to hit on, or maybe anything else we missed as the show continues on here. But I think it's just about time we move on to Yankees news, don't you? So let's do that and talk about any and all roster and or injury news that has taken place as of the past couple of weeks since we last spoke. Before we do that, though, and I haven't done enough of this, I got to get used to doing this more, but a little mid-show plug here, just a reminder to you guys. If you guys don't follow me on social medias, please remember to do so. Mike Scudero NY is my Facebook page. My Twitter or X is at Mike Scudero, and my Instagram is Mike Scuds97. And please remember to also subscribe to Yapping Yankees on all the platforms it is available on, guys. YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Please continue to show all the support you can for Yapping Yankees. But yeah, I got to get a little better at doing those mid-show plugs there, not waiting until the end of the show when I'm an hour and a half plus in, and most likely nobody except for my absolute diehards is even still listening and or paying attention at that point. So, little mid-season plug there with all my stuff. But without further ado, let's go into Yankees news. Injuries and roster news since we last spoke. We start off late Sunday on the 19th, right after I was done recording. Oswald Peraza had finished his rehab assignment and he was officially reactivated and optioned to AAA, which is where he has been this entire time. So if the Yankees are ever to need extreme infield help once again, then Oswald Peraza is on the hook to be called upon whenever. And I still think that it is a shame that he still finds himself down there. And right before Glaber had recently started to pick himself up a little bit, obviously I'm not going to pull the trigger on this as long as he's hot. You use the guy as long as he's doing well. But if anything else extended takes place, and it's pretty obvious of what the move should be, then that's a move that I might damn well make. It's already a shame that Cabrera, although he did come back down to earth, yes, is getting a lot more bench time now that DJ is back, which I think we all anticipated realistically would happen. And that was the move the Yankees would make. But if anything is to happen with Glaber, and you don't just immediately put Cabrera back out there, well, either give Peraza the damn shot already, consistently, or do otherwise, and put him somewhere where he can get that shot. That's just always been my take with Peraza, but I mean, we'll see what goes on. Right now, it's nothing to really be mad about. There's not much to be mad about at all, given the Yankees' gameplay. So it's tough to really get too fired up about that or much of anything at this point. Monday the 20th, Ian Hamilton had been placed on the COVID IL It's been a while since we heard of that. And they actually selected Clayton Andrews to the active roster and a DFA'd Colby White, who they had just picked up a week or so prior. And Clayton Andrews obviously would not be long for the count at all, nor should he have been, because I think it goes without saying that the guy just doesn't have good stuff. I'm not a fan of his. And I think it was already known that his stay would be short-lived anyway, considering Tommy Kahnle's imminent return that we all knew was going to happen. And that did in fact happen, because on Wednesday, as anticipated and I mentioned was possible on the last episode a couple of weeks ago, Tommy Kahnle was in fact reactivated. And it has been awesome to see him back. Yeah, why not? Give a round of applause. We love ourselves Tommy Kahnle. It's good to have him back. So he's returned. Another arm to restore to a bullpen that's been a little bit in need of late. A couple of guys definitely up here that I don't believe should be, and definitely at least one of them could be replaced by an objectively better option currently in the minors right now. But we've spoken about that already as of past weeks, and I'm not quite sure why the Yankees have not pulled the trigger yet. They very well could and should, with the off day being tomorrow and sort of resetting here as the West Coast trip wraps up and a new month is here. We'll see what they do with that, if anything. But also around that same time, Garrett Cole had begun to face live batters for the first time, so that was another big step in his recovery process. Friday the 24th, the Yankees made a couple of roster moves as well. Nick Birdy out in the bullpen, back on the freaking injured list. And again with a non-arm injury. This time hip inflammation. And in turn, they recalled Yoendrys Gomez from AAA. So, Nick Birdy again. He didn't really have his stuff being all that sharp since he had returned from his original injury. But now he's right back to the injured list yet again, and still is as we speak. Now, like Clayton Andrews, Gomez's stay would also not be for long because Ian Hamilton would soon be returning from the COVID IL, and he did the following week, so that took care of Gomez. But as of Saturday the 25th, something big did happen last weekend in San Diego. John Birdy, speaking of more birdies, all the birdies are gone on the injured list. But John Birdy, the infielder, rather than Nick Birdy, the reliever, he hit the injured list again, 10-day injured list with a left calf strain. Although actual time missed is going to be much longer than that because, unfortunately, it was a pretty high-grade strain, and the Yankees revealed that almost immediately right after testing was done on Birdy. 6 to 8 weeks, to be exact, potential missed time, so Birdy is down for a while. So that is an infield depth piece that is no longer an option for the foreseeable future, so that absolutely sucks for him, especially because he was actually getting some pretty good hits the last 2 weeks. Some big spots, too. But yeah, he had hit a ball on the ground, and then right after leaving the box, he just collapsed, was not getting up, needed help getting off the field. Was given a nice hand by the San Diego crowd, mainly filled with Yankee fans, as it feels like mostly every road crowd is nowadays. It's just unbelievable, but either way, really sucks for him, and I hope for as quick a recovery as possible there for him. Kevin Smith was otherwise chosen to the active roster in turn of that, who would end up electing at first free agency instead of accepting his outright to AAA afterwards, but then, upon the return of a certain other infielder, decided to just accept the outright anyway. So there was that. So outrighted back down was Kevin Smith and returned to the team finally Mr. DJ LeMahieu during the Anaheim series as anticipated. And that was the exact same day in which Ian Hamilton, as I said before, was reactivated from the COVID IL. So a couple of returns, one for the offense, one for the bullpen, this past Tuesday for the Yankees on the roster. And then on Thursday the 30th, as cool as it was to get two guys back, we all know how the baseball gods work, especially with how the Yankees starting rotation has been doing. The baseball gods looked down on the Yankees and said, this rotation must be nerfed. It is not fair for any of the other opponents of the New York Yankees. The rotation must be taken down a peg. Strike that young man right there named Clark Schmidt. to the 15-day injured list, retroactive to May the 27th, unfortunately with a right lat strain. And it's going to be a lot longer than that, that's for sure. It's going to be at least a couple of months, I think, until we see Schmidt again. Basically, the program for him as of this point, as of just the last few days, so this is only a little bit of the way in, no throwing for him at all. So no activity with the arm pretty much for 4 to 6 weeks. So you're talking about a month to a month and a half. So maybe end of June into the first part of July with no throwing at all. And then with that much time being taken off, then you have to consider how much time it's going to take to slowly ramp him up, ultimately have a rehab assignment. With all of that being said, unfortunately, guys, I'm afraid we are not going to be seeing Clarke Schmidt anytime soon. And it is beyond a shame because of how great he was doing and how much he was contributing to an already fantastic starting rotation overall. He really was very much so taking those next steps to really becoming a true, respectable major league starter. Especially with those outings where he finally went beyond his 6-inning curse and then even had that 8-inning performance against the Twins, so on and so forth. Was just looking really good. And now this happens. We had seen him not pitch for a little while, and I hadn't really even realized that. I was like, oh, I wonder when Clark's pitching next, and then this news comes out on Thursday. So that really sucks. Obviously, the Yankees' rotation had to be nerfed a bit. Clearly, how close Gerrit Cole is getting to coming back now eases the pain of this news at least a little bit, inevitably so. But this also goes back to a little something I was saying before, guys. Whether it be in the case of someone like John Birdie, unfortunately, or Clarke Schmidt here, unfortunately, whenever the discussion arose in the Yankee community, oh, when this person comes back, what are they going to do with this person or that person or the roster overall? What are they going to have to do? I said something very crucial a few weeks ago, whether it be in the last episode or maybe the episode prior to that. I said something crucial. And it has played out, unfortunately, here. Because I had reiterated that a problem like that, choosing who has to take a step out of the rotation when Cole comes back, maybe even what happens with the infield depth in light of John Birdie going down and DJ coming back or anything of the like. Whenever you have too much of something and something's really going well and you're going to have to make a tough choice in the near future. It's a good problem to have, as I said, number one. But number two, and this is mostly unfortunate, but it has played out yet again, as I said it likely would, because this is just how life works, and especially how sports work. These things usually take care of themselves. That's why I refuse to go ballistic and get all crazy about, oh my God, who should be the one to step out of the Yankees rotation when Gerrit Cole comes back if they're not going to use a six-man? Oh, it should be Nestor. Oh, but the Yankees will probably still go with Heel because he was the replacement in the first place and they don't deviate from their current course and blah, 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 blah. People are going nuts about it. Nuts! I refused. And I used the reason that usually these things take care of themselves. Usually, right beforehand, somebody will go in a bad slump and maybe make the decision for the team, or an injury will arise and make the decision for them. Unfortunately, in this case, and even in the case of John Birdie, if you want to use that one at all with the infield, with depth or with DJ coming back, whatever, the latter played out. And an injury took care of it anyway, and the debate is moot. That had so many people fired up for weeks on end. That's usually how it goes, unfortunately. So, really unfortunately for Clarke Schmidt, despite the fact of how much it sucks, especially in light of how he was doing, that this news had to come out, and especially have him be out as long as he's going to be. It took care of the problem. The good problem, but a problem nonetheless. So, now Gerrit will come back, and he'll just slide right back into there. And now we don't have to worry about debating who's going to be sent to the bullpen or sent down, or whether or not there will or could be a six-man rotation and how that'll throw people off schedule and whatnot. Discussion means nothing. And I'm glad I didn't waste any time on it in hindsight now. So, again, as much as the Schmidt news sucks, I wish it wasn't this. But, like I said, sometimes just takes care of itself, guys. That's just the way it goes. And that is the reason why, as I said earlier, Poteet got the start yesterday. Had himself a nice outing, but again, not as sharp as when he was in Cleveland with the 6-inning, 1-run performance. Stellar outing there. And when Poteet did come up to pitch this game yesterday, Cody Morris, who they had recalled in light of the Schmidt news, was optioned back down for Poteet to take his place for yesterday's outing in San Francisco. So that was unfortunately the Clarke Schmidt news and the latest, I'd say, big blow to the starting rotation in light of how he was doing and what he meant to them and how long he's going to be out. So as quick as possible for Clarke. I hope to see him get back out there at some point and pick up right where he left off. And then coming into today with today's news, speaking of our ace, Gerrit Cole, who has had an unbelievable interim and Luis Gil step in his absence, along with the team doing well overall, hence them not having to rush him or just about anybody else back nowadays, which is also a huge plus to be able to have. It was announced, it was rumored a few days ago, but officially confirmed yesterday into today, that Gerrit Cole's next outing is really the final step. He will be pitching in his first minor league rehab game in Double-A with the Somerset Patriots on Tuesday. Hell yeah, another round of applause, definitely. So the ace, he's coming, man. He's coming back. I can't wait. Oh, my God. This team isn't good enough, and Gerrit Cole's going to come back. And, yeah, they're probably going to dial him up to about 75, 80 pitches and continue from there on out. When he does return, and hopefully everything goes good from there on out, please, God, crossed fingers, knocking on wood, everything you could possibly do superstition-wise, please let it go well. But that is really getting close. I can't wait. And again, it does help ease the news for Clarke as well, because Clarke goes down for a while, but Cole's getting close. He's getting there. It's June, and it's getting close. Some other news around the injured of late Nick Birdie, when we talked about him going on the injured list earlier. He did receive a PRP injection recently to help him in his recovery for his hip. Scott Effross is finally starting to build some more momentum in his bullpen sessions at the Tampa complex. Some bad news that Lou Trevino in the bullpen is still yet to even resume throwing. So that is not good. I mean, he was hoping to get himself back, and after what the Yankees saw of him in the second half of 22 out in the bullpen, it was really good, and they just can't seem to get him back on a good track, unfortunately. So that's the latest on him. But otherwise, mostly, except for Birdie and Schmidt, mostly good things, guys. DJ's back. I mean, just go on down the list. Effross continuing to make some progress. He's recovering well, doing his bullpens. There's no set date for him yet to begin a rehab assignment. That's what Aaron Boone said. But again, for Effross, that's from the back discomfort that kicked in December after his Tommy John recovery. So we're hoping that's going well. And last but certainly not least, with all of the news, aside from the guys who are going to be out for the foreseeable future, I mean, JT Brubaker is going to be out maybe till July or August, but I mean, nobody really much cares about that. Chase Hampton and Jonathan Loaisiga, who God knows when we're going to see either of them, especially because they both have the ulnar collateral ligament issues, the UCL, which we all know what that means. But the last real piece of news injury-wise is Mr. Jason Dominguez. As of the last time we spoke, he did already begin his rehab assignment. That was on May 14th when he began his assignment, and he already had done very well. Up to that point, he was already had started off with a hit off of Domingo Germán and then started to hit some home runs. And in the last couple of weeks, my God, he was called up to Double-A, and he is mashing. I feel like we are hard-pressed to find a single day where somebody doesn't report that he homered at least once. He's just kicking ass down there. And he is just really, really close to being officially just activated from his rehab assignment and either being officially re-optioned back down to AAA probably, since Yankee team is doing as they're doing right now. Don't really want to break up that chemistry you got going with Verdugo, Judge, and Soto in the outfield right now and what the lineup's got going, as much as you miss Jason Dominguez's bat and want to see him continue his major league journey after what we saw last year. it's hard to break up what the Yankees got going right now, man. So it's very possible that after his rehab assignment is done, that you'll see him option again and just be another option down there for whenever they might potentially need him. But when it comes to his minor league rehab assignment expiring, that's tomorrow on June 3rd, which is when we're probably going to be seeing him option back down to AAA, if I had to say. Yes, it sucks, but again, another good issue to have. Does this guy belong in the major leagues right now? Yeah, he does. But do the Yankees also have something that's a little too good to interrupt right now? Abso-freaking-lutely. There are worse problems to have. At least you know that he's finally ready to go and he is kicking the crap, tearing the cover off of that baseball. So that's what we'll probably see as of tomorrow when his rehab assignment expires. As expected, on or around Memorial Day-ish, give or take a week or so, and bro is ready to go. So, and he just keeps on saying every time someone speaks to him, he says he feels great, going day by day, feels better with each passing day. That's what we love to hear, man. So Jason Dominguez is basically back on all cylinders, and we'll see what goes on there going forward, guys. But more or less, that is all of the roster and injury news as of the past couple of weeks. More or less caught up on all of that. And a little side note as well on a minor league front. Speaking of the minor leagues when talking about Jason Dominguez and otherwise, the Yankees did actually trade Luis Torrens, one of their minor league catchers. We know the Yankees definitely have a surplus of those in their system right now, but they traded him to the Mets for cash considerations, $100,000 to be specific, give or take. So the Yankees did get rid of one of their catchers in the minor league system, and that is Luis Torrens. Otherwise, let us keep on going. That was a good clap. Damn. Let us keep on going on to the weekly recap segment. Breeze through the games from a couple of weeks ago and talk about what happened as of this past week as well. Yapping Yankees Time Machine. Let's go. You know, a little side note. It's only a little bit after 8:30 at the time I'm recording right now that we're decently over an hour into this episode today. And the sun is still decently out, and I just got to say that I'm at peak happiness with that because all of you know how much I love the warmth, love the summer, love the sun being out late. And we are so close, just weeks away from the longest day of the year being June 21st, and just the build up to that has been amazing. So happy that it's gotten to be so warm out and the sun still being out, the windows open. Yankees kicking ass. I'm in my happy place, guys. What can I tell you? Usually June is a good overall time, especially when the Yankees are doing good. I'm flying high. Trying not to concentrate on the fact that the Rangers once again broke my heart last night. Side note there. But otherwise, just continuing to focus on all the good that continues to go on all around me, with outside being the way it is, with all the outdoor conditions, and with how the Yankees continue to treat me nowadays. But we do have a lot to catch up on. All the way from a couple of weeks ago, leading up to today, June 2nd, which, by the way, in case some of you may have forgotten, it's hard to imagine because it's been said everywhere, as it should be, but today also happens to be Lou Gehrig's Day, which, of course, is a day that's highly commemorated, obviously, because of Lou Gehrig himself, but also utilized, fortunately, as a day to continue to spread awareness for Lou Gehrig's disease, specifically known as ALS, just Lou Gehrig's disease, since he was the famous one to get it. It was named after him, much like Tommy John surgery was named after Tommy John. But Lou Gehrig's Day is a very important day for spreading awareness for the infamous ALS disease that Lou himself died of many, many years ago, as we know. Over 80 years ago, in fact. So today is Lou Gehrig Day, very important day to remember him. And you saw the Yankees with their 4 patches on the upper left part of their road grays today. Lou Gehrig definitely way up there on my personal all-time favorite, so I'm all for honoring everything about him at all times. But today is his day, and we will be catching up on the games all the way from 2 weeks ago up to today. And then we'll talk about the Yankees have ahead for this coming week, leading all the way up to when we talk again for next Sunday, the 9th episode. But we go back to a couple of weekends ago where we first left off when we last spoke. Obviously, the Yankees had just got done manhandling the White Sox, as they very well should have. And they welcomed the Mariners to town. At first, they had some trouble against them. On Monday in particular, definitely a special game, but Yankees very well could have, and some may even argue, validly so, should have won this game. Stroman was out there pitching a phenomenal game. 7 1/3, 1-run gem. And again, this further proves what I mentioned earlier on in the show, that the win-loss stat means absolutely nothing because the late-game implosion meant that he did not get the win for his incredible effort against the Mariners. That had also seen his ERA lowered back down to 3.05 afterwards. And the offense did what they had to do, got on the board early even on a 2-run double by Alex Verdugo, and then an RBI single by Alex Verdugo in the bottom of the 5th. His 2-run double again had come in the bottom of the 1st, so right at the beginning. So Verdugo, as I said before, continued to just be as clutch as he always seems to be. I used to always even say that when the Yankees used to face him against the Red Sox, that in big moments in games he would always just take it to the Yankees. Just a clutch guy, and he's continuing that here, which I love. Then, finally, the only run that the Mariners finally managed to score off Stroman. Solo shot at the top of the 8th that would lead to Stroman leaving the game after 7 1/3. Phenomenal start by him. And then the bottom of the 8th, after that solo shot, the Yankees added on some insurance thanks to John Birdie RBI single. So, again, things were feeling good, but then it was bound to happen eventually, guys. Clay Holmes just absolutely imploded. Just getting 2 outs, Ferguson had to finish the inning for him. That's when you know. But gave up 4 runs, 2 walks, didn't strike out anybody. First earned runs he gave up on the year. It was bound to happen eventually, guys. It was almost June. The season started in late March, and Bro did not even have an ERA yet before this. It was bound to happen. So, as much as it sucked and as crappy of a way as it was to start out a series, a game that the Yankees very well should have won, he had a 3-run lead coming into this save, but it just didn't work out. And the Yankees would not end up coming back in the bottom of the 9th. Unfortunately, to follow that, Soto did get a hit, so he tried to get something started after Volpe struck out, but couldn't get anything going, and the Yankees would fall 5-4 to start the series. And the only thing I was asking after that is after a loss, obviously that had ended their huge win streak that they had going, that I mentioned earlier in the show, but the only thing that I typically ask after an ugly loss ends a big win streak is to not let said ugly loss throw you into any sort of a big funk going forward to the point where you damn near or maybe even fully allow it to completely eclipse the good that you just accomplished across that win streak. They would lose the next day, too, so it did scare me a little bit. Now, not too much, because the Yankees still had a great record at that point. Coming into this game, they were 33-16, I believe, so it was still really good. But I was like, uh-oh. Clark started the game, didn't have his best stuff, but still managed to go through 5 innings, and only gave up 2 runs in the top of the 3rd. So he kept the Yankees definitely within reach in the game for sure. Struck out 6, only walked 2, gave up 4 hits. So didn't have a bad start by any means, especially when it comes to runs given up. But the offense was awfully quiet. The entire night they only had 5 hits, and they only scored in the bottom of the 7th when they were down 4-0. Offense completely dead. And then Glaber hit a 3-run shot, his 3rd home run of the year at that point, driving home Judge and Rizzo. That made it 4-3. And then in the top of the 8th inning, Clayton Andrews, this is what I was talking about, the one outing that he had, just was showing terrible stuff. His career numbers have never been good in the opportunities he's gotten, and when I saw his stuff in spring training, and then even more so now, just was not a fan. So, not to anyone's surprise, this guy comes out. Probably shouldn't have been the one called upon in such a close game after Glaber's home run, but hey, you were called up, you still have a job to do at the end of the day, so partial blame on Boone there for the decision, and also, obviously, partial claim on the guy who gave up the freaking home run in the first place to Raley, I believe it was. Yeah, Luke Raley. So, that made it 5-3. Unfortunate right after Glaber's home run that got everybody back into, and then Andrews comes out immediately, gives that up. And the Mariners would score once more in the top of the 9th, and win 6-3. So first 2 games of the series taken by the Mariners. At this point, you're thinking, wow, might the Yankees finally lose their first home series? No, they would not. They would win the next 2, fortunately. Third game of the series, Nestor started 5 shutout innings. Didn't have necessarily his best either. Did only give up 3 hits and 3 walks. But he did strike out 6, didn't give up any runs. Tonkin gave up a couple of runs later on in the game, as did Weaver. He gave up a run himself, but otherwise the Yankee offense, despite all of that, definitely did its job. Bottom of the first inning, this was one of the many home runs you heard in the clips at the open of the show. Aaron Judge opened up the game in the bottom of the first, 2-run shot, followed by another 2-run shot in the bottom of the third by his counterpart, Juan Soto. That made it 4-0. Then Soto would homer again in the bottom of the sixth to make it 5-0, a solo shot. And the Mariners came a little closer with a 3-run homer by Cal Raleigh in the top of the 8th, but then right away answering right back in the bottom of the 8th, Alex Verdugo, 2-run shot of his own, driving Judge home, made it 7-3, and that was your final. Nestor got the win and advanced to 3-4 at the time. And then on to Game 4, Yankees hoping to at least split so they don't lose their first home series. They would accomplish it. Mainly thanks to Luis Gil, who went out there and just spun yet another gem. 6 1/3, only gave up 1 hit, walked 2 guys, shutout, 8 strikeouts. Victor Gonzalez, Nick Birdie, who didn't have his good stuff yet again before being put on the IL, 2 walks, just getting 1 out. And Clay Holmes ultimately at the end, earning his 14th save at the time. Pitching was fantastic. No runs allowed at all by anybody. And the offense, well, they didn't really have to do much beyond that, since the pitching didn't give up any runs and only 3 hits. So they had their work cut out for them. Started by Giancarlo Stanton with a solo shot in the bottom of the second. That made it 1-0. Judge, bottom of the third, solo shot, made it 2-0. Soto, RBI single. Verdugo, sac fly, and Rizzo, sac fly, all in the bottom of the 7th, would ultimately make it 5-0, which would be the final. Luis Gil at the time being the forefront of the amazing accomplishments the Yankees rotation has achieved in the first half of the season nearly so far here in 2024, advancing to a 6-1 record and a 2.11 ERA at the time, would even further improve after a start in Anaheim, as I mentioned before. But then the Yankees would start their West Coast swing. They would head to San Diego for the Padres. This series, other than the latter part of the final game, Game 3 on Sunday, was a lot of fun. I did expect the Padres to put up a bit more of a fight than this, but I guess the Yankees were that much better, especially in the first 2 games. But the Yankees came into this road trip with murderous intent. That's the only way you could describe it. Even Rodon started this game, 6 shutout innings, walked 3 guys, gave up 3 hits, only struck out 2, so the strikeouts weren't really there, but a very economical start. Earned his 6th win of the year as well. A lot of 6s there. And drove his ERA down to 2.95 at the time. So a very nice outing for him. Dennis Santana, as well as Yoendris Gomez afterwards, closed it out. But they didn't have much stress at all because of what the Yankee offense managed to do earlier on amidst this 8-0 victory. It all started in the top of the first. Aaron Judge sac fly. Followed by in the top of the third, a Juan Soto 2-run shot made it 3-0. He certainly was not welcomed in San Diego at all, because of course, that was where he was traded to the Yankees from. And of all of his seasons with the Nationals, Padres, and now the Yankees combined, his gameplay with the Padres was by far the worst, even though he still wasn't absolutely brutal there by any means. But definitely compared to his gameplay with the Nationals and the Yankees, not nearly as good, and I guess the Padres fans don't appreciate that. Guess I understand them, but I also guess that bro just did not want to be there. So, and he made it evident how much fun he's having on the Yankees and just gave it right back to the Padres crowd, let his bat do the talking. 2-run shot here made it 3-0. Then a Judge solo shot made it 4-0. A Stanton 2-run shot made it 6-0. Even Glaber got in on the action with a solo shot of his own in the top of the 4th, 7-0. Before the game is even half over. And then Volpe would later score on a wild pitch in the 9th, made it 8-0, and that was the overwhelming final of the first game of that weekend set. They'd continue it right into Saturday, facing Dylan Cease, who the Yankees also passed up on, and I was actually happy about that. as we know. Said that many times. 6 shutout innings for our starter that we did decide to go with over the winter, being Marcus Stroman. Only allowing 1 walk and 3 hits, striking out 5, doing a very nice job. Only run allowed was off of Luke Weaver, who pitched 2 nice frames otherwise. And Clay Holmes in the 9th, earning his 15th save. And the bats, Aaron Judge again, top of the first. 2-run shot, his 17th of the year at the time. And then in the top of the 4th, RBI single for Rizzo, sac fly for Glaber. Final score, 4-1. And Stroman improving his stats at the time to a 4-2 record with a 2.76 ERA. Sunday would not go to the Yankees' liking, but of course they already had the series locked up, so definitely not the end of the world. Can't be too mad about it at all. Clark Schmidt did start this game. Again, did not necessarily have his best. 5 innings. 3 hits, 2 runs, only 1 earned, though. 3 walks and 6 Ks. He certainly battled all the way through to that 6th inning, which is when all of the runs, other than the one in the 7th, were given up in the game. So it's a combination of Schmidt and Victor Gonzalez. And then obviously in the 7th inning, Caleb Ferguson, of course, had to tally 1 more on because why not? But nonetheless, the Yankees actually did take the lead first, which was encouraging. Juan Soto got an RBI double in the top of the 6th, but then it was after that, off of Schmidt and then Victor Gonzalez to follow in the 6th inning where the wheels came off a little bit. Lots of soft contact and unfortunate breaks for the Yankees, but it happens, especially when you've been doing as good as the Yankees have been. You're going to see this every once in a blue moon. So by the end of it, Padres had a 4-1 lead, and then Ferguson gave up an RBI double to Machado in the bottom of the 7th, made it 5-1. Verdugo did hit a solo shot in the top of the 9th to bring them within 5-2, but that was the final. So the Yankees did lose the final game before heading over to Anaheim, but they did still take the series best 2 out of 3 to continue their series lossless streak in the month of May, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term. But Monday they had an off day, and they moved on to Anaheim for Tuesday. This is unfortunately another unfortunate L. This was also the last one they had up until today. So, again, they started off the game well. Juan Soto had hit a solo shot right away in the top of the 1st, a bomb right down the right field line, his 15th of the year. That made it 1-0. Starting this game, though, for the Yankees was Nestor Cortez. He, again, did not necessarily have his best, but this was also the only damage he gave up. The 2-run shot to Kevin Pillar was a bomb in the bottom of the 1st. That made it 2-1 Angels over the Yankees. But then otherwise, other than that, really just 5 1/3, 4 hits and nothing allowed beside that home run. Didn't walk anybody, so just aggravating it right after Soto does that, immediately right after the 2-run shot. That's how Nestor pitches on the road, really. It's frustrating. But then they came back in the 4th and 5th innings, did the Yankee offense. Soto with an RBI single to tie the game, doing it all himself. And then Austin Wells with an RBI double in the top of the 5th to make it 3-2 Yankees. Gleyber Torres got thrown out at home by a long shot. Bad send by Rojas. Could have had more, but they stopped at 3. And then in the bottom of the 8th is where it all came crashing down for the bullpen again, unfortunately. Weaver, after having pitched the 7th, came out for the 8th again and got himself into a lot of trouble. Then Clay Holmes came in to try to finish off the inning and allowed both of Weaver's runners to score, driving Weaver's ERA up, of course. So again, another late-game bullpen blow for the Yankees, and they would end up losing 4-3. That's why I said even though the Yankee bullpen, for the most part this year, has gotten the job done very nicely, they've had a couple of struggles here and there of late. And I've had you question a couple of the guys they have up here, particularly guys like Caleb Ferguson and Dennis Santana. I definitely think one of those guys could easily be replaced by Ron Marinaccio right now, because I was puzzled by the Marinaccio demotion, even though I know he had options at the time, his most recent demotion. I definitely think a switch should be made there. I guess an argument can be made that Santana should be the one, because even though I don't trust either him or Ferguson as far as I could throw them, at least you'd be replacing a righty with a righty, and you wouldn't be sacrificing a lefty, at the very least. Even though Victor Gonzalez, I think, is a plenty serviceable lefty, I suppose. But, Yeah, I definitely think one of Santana or Ferguson should not be here anymore. When it comes to how the bullpen can improve amidst recent slight concerns, I would say. Not major concerns, because they've most of the time still gotten the job done, as we know. But, yeah, if I had to make a change, I think that would be it. Just DFA Dennis Santana. There's really no need for him to be here. Has not impressed, really. And bring Ron back up. Just my opinion. Not that anybody asked for it. Even though you are listening to this show, so you must care to a certain degree what I have to say. But otherwise, we're getting off topic. Let's talk about the second Angels game. Luis Gil taking the hill. And this was the start that I was saying before just left me with my jaw on the ground amidst all of the others that have. With Luis Gil just impressing the living hell out of me. I just... Speaking of people who you run out of words for. Him. Like I said, my nickname for him has been Interim Cole. Because that's literally been how he's been. 8 innings of 1-run ball, and he only gave up the 1 run on a solo shot that barely made it out to right center field in the 7th inning. Other than that, 8 innings, 2 hits, that 1 run on the solo shot, 2 walks, and 9 strikeouts. Need I remind you, Luis Gil is now 7-1 with a 1.99 ERA. He has 79 strikeouts in 63 and a third innings pitched. His whip is under 1 at .95. This kid is electric. We always knew that once he got his command under control, that he would take that next step and actually be a weapon. That's exactly what's happened with him. Kept the Angels majorly off the board, so again, the Yankee offense had their work cut out for them. Alex Verdugo solo shot in the top of the 4th. Anthony Volpe with a triple in the top of the 7th. And after a bad throw by Rengifo at second, getting down the left field line, would allow Volpe to get up and come on home for a Little League home run. But it was technically a triple. So a Little League home run put them up 2-0. And then Luis Gil taking the game all the way through 8 innings. And then Holmes locking it down in the 9th for his 16th save. That is all the baseball gods wrote, guys, for that game. Yankees won 2-1 and would try to take the series on Thursday, the 30th, this past Thursday, and they would do just that. Rodon started the game. He went 6+. Little complicated with his line. It's not even as it is presented. 6 innings, 3 runs, but again, he only really gave up 2 of those. This is what put that remarkable starting rotation streak to an end. That's 16 straight, 5 innings of 2 or less runs in a row for the starting rotation. And this right here is what put that to an end, thanks to none other than Mr. Caleb Ferguson. Because Rodon would leave the game with the Yankees up 7-2, runners on second and third, nobody out, and they took Rodon out of the game going 6+. Ian Hamilton comes in and strikes out 2 guys in a row and actually gives the Yankees a shot to continue this starting pitching streak because they would have kept it to 2 runs or less, and that remarkable streak by the rotation would have hit 17 games in a row of at least 5 innings with 2 or less runs allowed. But then after he walked somebody, they had to bring Caleb Ferguson in, of all people, and he would give up an RBI single to Willie Calhoun, which would be the 3rd run to Rodon's line. But still, plenty quality start for Rodon himself despite that extra run being charged to him, that 3rd run. 6 innings, only 3 hits, 3 runs, 1 walk, and 5 strikeouts. Canely and Tonkin would finish it off, and the Yankees' offense scoring 8 runs would start in the top of the 4th with Aaron Judge giving the Yankees a 2-1 lead on a 2-run shot, his 18th homer of the year. Driving home Juan Soto. Then Oswaldo Cabrera, nice to see him getting some playing time in this game once again. Top of the 7th would add on another run with a bases-loaded walk. Volpe another with another bases-loaded walk. And then Juan Soto with a bouncer down the right field line. A 3-run bases-clearing triple. Would make it 7-1. Trevino would add on 1 more run in the 8th inning on the sac fly. And the final score is 8-3. So the Yankees leave L.A. despite having a heartbreaker loss in the first game. Depends on your definition of heartbreak, because it's tough to be mad about much of anything in Yankee land nowadays. But tough loss, I'll say, to start the series. They still leave with the series victory. And then finally caught up to this weekend, of course, against the Giants. What would end up being a sweep after we, of course, spoke about today's game before, so we won't have to go over that again. But on Friday, Stroman took the bump once again. 7 1/3, so again, giving some very nice length. Once again, 6 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, and only 2 strikeouts. So the strikeouts weren't there, but the guy still did himself a very, very nice job as he continues to be a great pickup by the Yankees this past winter. Much better than I thought he would be. I thought that he would be serviceable. He'd be fine probably, even though I had my concerns with the injuries and also how he finished out the second half of last year. But my God, has he been good. 5-2, 2.73 ERA now. Amazing. Just amazing. Even more amazing, once again, the Yankee offense. Top of the third inning, down 1-0. Being welcomed home in a very rude way to California. His fellow native Californians, Aaron Judge, got the crap booed out of him. And he had a very nice answer, though, in the top of the third, because his answer was a 3-run shot deep into the San Francisco night for his 19th home run of the year, giving the Yankees a 3-1 lead, followed by, in the top of the 6th, a solo shot to dead center field for his 20th of the year to make it 4-1. And then after that, a passed ball would score 2 more for the Yankees in the same inning to make it 6-1, with the final being 6-2. So the Yankees made a mighty nice statement to start the series in San Francisco with a nice 6-2 victory. Leading into yesterday, Saturday, the first day of the month of June, you might ask yourself, after such a remarkable month of May, how did the Yankees start June off? Well, no differently. Cody Poteet would even have himself a nice outing. 5 innings, did give up 3 runs, 2 earned, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, only giving up 3 hits. Did allow that home run, the 2-run shot to Casey Schmidt, though, in the bottom of the third. But otherwise, serviceable start again. It's very nice in place of Schmidt. I'm okay with it. Yankee bullpen locked it down. Ian Hamilton, shutout inning. Ferguson, believe it or not, even though he got into trouble, of course, shutout inning. Tommy Kahnle, very nice shutout inning of his own. And Clay Holmes even got some work in, despite having a bigger lead. But the Yankee offense, once again, went to work. Top of the first. You didn't get enough of Aaron Judge home runs in the prior game? Have another. 21st home run of the year on a 2-run shot in the top of the first here, made it 2-0. Juan Soto sac fly in the top of the third, followed by a Verdugo RBI single, made it 4-0. And then up 4-3 in the top of the 8th. The Yankee offense went back to work once again. RBI triple by Verdugo, made it 5-3, and then a Giancarlo Stanton 2-run shot down the left field line. Nice mammoth shot for him. Nice to see this from him because lately he had gone back to sleep a little bit with the bat, but hopefully comes back some more. Had this home run yesterday, had that nice late game hit today, so hopefully Stanton's waking back up a bit once again. But a 2-run shot here made it 7-3, and that was the final. Capped off by today's epic end, of course, as we know, that would seal the deal on the sweep and put an end to a 7-2 West Coast trip for the Yankees, making them 42-19. Neck and neck with the Phillies for the best record in all of baseball, and definitely the best record in the American League. Trailed only by the Guardians, who are 39-20. Who were a game better than the next best team, the Orioles, who are 3 games worse than the Yankees in the AL East right now with a 37-20 record after action today. The Yankees may very well be a half a game better than the Phillies after their game with the Cardinals tonight. That's still going on at the time I'm recording. Because if the Phillies lose and the Cardinals manage to beat them, the Yankees will be a half a game better than the Phillies heading into tomorrow's off day on Monday the 3rd, and thereby having the official best record in baseball in the first week of June. We'll see what's going on, though, because at the time I'm taping right now, it's the top of the 7th against the Cardinals and the Phillies, and the game is tied at 4. So we'll see what happens there. But again, another big plus to the Yankees' victory today is that the Orioles happened to lose. The Rays had a late game comeback in their game against the Orioles in Baltimore. So the Yankees coming back in their game to win had them gain another game on the Orioles. Coming into today, they were 2 games over them, and now after this, they are 3 games over the Orioles, up in first place in the East. And the rest of the AL East, as we've discussed, has surprisingly, remarkably fallen off. The Red Sox, I'm not so surprised about. They're dead at a .500 record. I did expect them to be even slightly worse than that, though, but they did get off to that good start with their elite starting rotation at first. Starting rotation was hella good. But the Rays and the Blue Jays, especially the Blue Jays, have disappointed. I thought maybe the Rays would slightly come back down to earth a bit, especially amidst, on an overall basis, Randy Arozarena having the really bad season that he's been having. I mean, right now, he's even still just batting 162. I mean, that's freaking crazy. But even so, like, Yandy Diaz isn't having a great season. Harold Ramirez is doing okay. I mean, they don't really have anybody in their lineup that'll jump out at you, really. That's why the Yankees were able to handle them, too. And hopefully will continue to going forward. But they did manage to grab that win against the Orioles today. But the rest of the East, man, I mean, it's crazy. After the Orioles, such a drop-off. With the Red Sox being at .500, they're 11.5 back of the Yankees. And then the Rays and Blue Jays both being a game worse than the Red Sox. 29-31 for the Rays and 28-30 for the Blue Jays. 12.5 back of first place. I definitely expected it to be a bit closer than that. I thought it would be a 3 or 4 team race for this thing. Maybe it could change going forward. There's a lot of baseball left to be played this year, as I mentioned before, but still, I expected it to be closer than that. It's just really the Yankees and Orioles right now, and thankfully the Yankees gained a game on them today. Tomorrow the Orioles will be playing, but the Yankees will not, because they have a day off. But things are just about as good as they can be right now, guys. So other than all of the accolades that I have mentioned for everything that has happened the past couple of weeks, and just for the Yankees overall, it's just, what else can you really say? What else can you say? All there really is left to say at this point is what is ahead before moving on to the Yapping Yankees social media segment. And since we are deep into the show, I'll blow right through that one. But going forward for the next week until we talk again next Sunday, again, as I mentioned, tomorrow the Yankees are off. Then on Tuesday, they come back home. They return back to the Bronx, probably to a very nice welcome from the Yankee Stadium home faithful, as it should be. And they'll be facing the Twins again. They did meet them in Minnesota fairly recently, and now they'll be at Yankee Stadium to probably manhandle them more, hopefully. I can't imagine they won't. So this should be a nice series, nice 3-game set in the Bronx, starting on Tuesday, the 4th, 7:05 Eastern. Luis Gil will be back on the hill once again on Tuesday. So Gil back on the heel. I'm so not the first one to make that joke, and it is a lame one at that, but nonetheless. Anyway, interim Cole taking the hill on Tuesday with his 7-1 record and 1.99 ERA. So we'll see how the Yankees make out that night. Wednesday, again, another note on this, just for those who don't know already. Seems to be a thing on Wednesdays. The Yankees will be back on Amazon Prime Wednesday night for the 7:05 Eastern game against the Twins. Just for those who do not know, make note of that. Rodon will be taking the hill with his 7-2 and 3.09 ERA. That'll be Wednesday the 5th. And then Thursday the 6th. It will not be a day game or a getaway game or anything. It'll be another 7:05 Eastern game. Marcus Stroman and his 5-2 record and 2.73 ERA will be taking the hill for that one against Pablo Lopez to wrap up the series against the Twins. And the next weekend is the weekend series that everybody has been waiting for. The Yankees welcome in the Los Angeles Dodgers. First game on Friday the 7th will be on Apple TV. Just so people know, I do not have Apple TV, so I'm going to have to figure something the hell out. But in any event, Yankees and Dodgers, Yankee Stadium, next weekend is going to be a blast. 7:05 Eastern for Friday. On Saturday, the 8th, 7:35 Eastern, and this game will be on Fox. It will not be on Yes or any other streaming platform. It will be on Fox exclusively. 7:35 Eastern again. Pitching matchups have not been officially announced by any team, by either team for this weekend series, just so you guys know. And then Sunday, June 9th, when we shall yap again, as we know, a 7:10 p.m. Eastern game. And that'll be on ESPN, obviously, being a night game on a Sunday. I'm probably, just so you guys know, since I have something else big going on next weekend, but you will still be getting an episode, don't worry. It is my amazing girlfriend's final dance recital, so I'm going to be going to that. So the weekend's going to be jammed up. I'm going to be there Sunday evening-ish, so I'm probably going to record the episode early on Sunday. It'll be before Sunday's game, so just keep in mind anything I say in that episode will be without the knowledge of what happens in that night's game. It'll be beforehand, even if the episode is released afterwards, which it probably will be. But it'll be without the knowledge of anything that happened in that game because it'll probably be taped earlier in the day before I leave. But don't be mistaken, I will definitely be watching this game later on. Definitely will be, but we will still be talking next on June 9th, and that is what's ahead for this coming week, my friends. What a time to be alive. Let's move on to the social media segment and get through this thing real quick. Really simple question, and probably to be at least somewhat expected considering all of the discussions surrounding him amidst his just continued surreal gameplay. Not that anybody is really surprised, but you still can't take it for granted because it is still much unlike anything we have seen, aside from himself in the past already. And you'll know what I mean when I give you the actual question in a second. But the open-ended question is, do you actually think Judge will come close to, tie, or even potentially pass his 2022 home run total with his current absurd pace? And his 2022 home run total, as we know, obviously, is 62 home runs, breaking Roger Maris's prior held American League single-season home run record. So the question basically is, with his current absurd pace, do you think he could actually come close to again, or even tie it, or even pass his own record that he set 2 years ago with his current pace? Now, at his current pace, in May alone, I think he hit 14 home runs. Which, if you do that every month, which is obviously not sustainable, not even the overall home run, single-season home run king, and overall home run king at that, even though he did take steroids, which discredits him for some people, Barry Bonds ever sustained that across a whole season. Otherwise, he would add about 90 home runs instead of 73, because that is, give or take, the pacing that would have. 14 home runs a month, and the season is, give or take, 6 months. So you multiply that, and you're over 80 home runs easily. Nobody has done that, of course. So Judge's pacing, of course, is ridiculous. And keep in mind, all of this is being done after he pretty much took an unofficial vacation from hitting for the most part of the first 3-4-ish weeks of the season. Please keep that in mind, that he is still accomplishing this even amidst how he started the season. I did say that if he is in fact healthy, then duck and cover for the other side of things, didn't I? After how hard he was struggling, and even I was admitting that he had to get going at some point for the Yankees to have any sort of true success. And I did say for when he does, which will happen if he is healthy, I did say that, which will happen, then the rest of the league better duck for cover. And you're seeing exactly that, because you're seeing the very other side of that coin that no opposing pitcher wants anything to do with. And I do think that as long as he does stay healthy, knock on wood, of course, which he should. I mean, the only reason he got hurt last year was because of a freak injury. Otherwise, if you exclude a messed up season where most people didn't even play or they got whacked out injuries because of the crazy timing and how screwed up the season was in 2020, if you take away last year's freak accident in Los Angeles for Aaron Judge, then technically, in reality, in an actual season, a respectable season, the last time he was hurt prior was 2019. So that's why, again, I do not buy the injury-prone BS when it comes to Aaron Judge. It's crap, and it's a lazy take. So long as he does maintain this pace and his health currently, I don't see why not he can't at least come close. He's on pace for about 60 already as it is. So why not? That's what I say, quite simply. Let's see what some of you had to say. First up, we've got at Yankees John saying home runs come in bunches. He'll have some dry home run spells during the season. No, absolutely, 100%. Home runs do come in spurts, and I did say of all the cold spells and extremes that you see, home runs is definitely in that category of things that happen in spurts, and then you might go a long time without seeing it all. So it's likely to happen, but I still think even with all of those factored in that Aaron Judge could still very well actually even come close to his own record, let alone even possibly tying or surpassing, that's for sure. I think we'd all love to see him break his own record. I think that'd be absolutely ridiculous. But it would also be the first time in the history of baseball that anybody would hit 60 home runs twice. None of the top three, and not even Pujols, managed to accomplish this either. Hitting 60 home runs at least, twice. Barry Bonds didn't do it. Hank Aaron didn't do it. And Babe Ruth, although he came very close to doing it, did not do it. He had his 60 home run season in 1927, and then he had 59 home runs in 1921, so he came very close, of course. And he also had 54 in 1920, and 54 in 28 as well. So multiple times he came very close, but actually hitting 60. And yes, keeping in mind, Babe Ruth had 154-game seasons, absolutely. But it's not Aaron Judge's fault that he wasn't around for that. So he would officially be the first person ever to hit 60 home runs or more twice. Which makes it all the more unlikely to happen, but you see what he's doing. You have quite never seen some of the things that Aaron Judge is doing. And he's already done it once, and he's on pace to do it again as long as he stays healthy, even with slumps factored in. We'll see. It's pretty amazing. At Yanks Bar says, oh, please, he's coming for Bonds. Hey, I would love that. I would love that. That is pretty absurd, though, because, again, Bonds, 73. That's pretty nuts. Even in 22, he was still 11 home runs from that. I mean, we'll see. It's pretty nuts to even think about. At Greg JC17 says, no. Outside of the steroid era, no one has really pushed 60 multiple times in their career. I think people have forgotten that 58 plus is ridiculously hard to do without steroids. I mean, you're not wrong. Definitely a lot of the other steroid guys like Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, so on and so forth, flirted with those kind of numbers multiple times. But at the end of the day, Judge also has some metrics that we really have never seen before, and he's already done it once, and he's on pace for it again. Other than injuries, it's hard to imagine much of anything else stopping him from at least coming close. So, I mean, you do definitely have a point. A lot of people do forget amidst how amazing Aaron Judge is, how difficult of a feat that is, but it's not impossible. We'll see. At Laura_Iceman says, I'm going to be optimistic and say that he will pass his 2022 home run total. Gives us another book to read on about his season. Yeah, I mean, wow, that would be amazing. That would be something. Another thing to consider, though, is that he could possibly be pitched around. That's another thing, which we did see a lot of in the final few weeks of the 2022 season when he really didn't hit that many home runs in that home stretch there. But also, people are also not considering when they think that, and it is valid, that they could very well treat him like Barry Bonds ultimately if they just have enough of being crushed night in and night out and day out. But another thing that people are forgetting is that in 2022, Aaron Judge was basically riding solo in the lineup. He's got help now. He's got Anthony Volpe at leadoff. He's got Soto in the 2-hole, and he's got him. And then if someone like Verdugo, Rizzo, Stanton is also hitting well after him, what are you going to pitch around him every time? They get killed by somebody else and still lose? They're not going to be able to pitch around him quite as severely as they did at the end of 2022. Can't forget that either. Has a lot more help than then. So consider that as well. But yeah, definitely get another book on that, I would have to imagine, Laura, for sure. At Mike B_923 says, if he stays healthy all year, I think he definitely hits at least 50 to 55. However, if he has a hot month of June next, I think teams are going to pitch around him more as the season goes along. I'll say he finishes with 55, but wouldn't be shocked if he hits 63 plus. That's really funny. I get that reply just as I mentioned that point about pitching around him. So I'll direct that prior comment I made to you, Mike, but yeah, even if it's not 60, 50 to 55 is definitely not out of the realm of possibility at all. Totally agree. Next, we have my good buddy Spencer at Musician DMD. Good to hear from you again, buddy. All the best. I hope you're doing well. Have not forgotten about you. Yapping Yankees community, again, give your best to Spencer. Spencer, through his family, writes, Judge will flirt with his record and come close. It'll be something fans talk about throughout the season. I don't think he will surpass 62 primarily because of his slow start. Still, it's one of those things that I hope I'm wrong. Regardless, he is the best player in Major League Baseball. Hell yeah, Spence. But I will say this. He did have that slow end in 2022, around the time he hit 61 and 62 in those last few weeks. If he is to finish hot from here through to the end for the most part, he'll inevitably, of course, hit some slight droughts at least from here to the end. But if he keeps it at least somewhat consistent from here to the end on his pace, then it's basically the same as 22, but reversed. Because in 22, he ended slow, to where if he didn't, he probably could have hit 65 plus. But this season, he started slow for about the same amount of time. It was the last few weeks of 22, first few weeks of this year. So if you consider that, you could have the slow start be this year and have him finish off for the rest of the way through with this current pace and have him tie it or even pass it. Either way, you'll have a period of time in either season where there's a few weeks where he did less to nothing and really didn't hit that many home runs. So if you factor that in, unless teams do still extremely pitch around him later on in the season despite the additional help he has in the lineup, you could simply shift that slow end in 22 to the beginning of 24 and still have it even out, if that makes sense. So that's what I say to that, but certainly I think flirting is definitely possible. Just stay healthy. That's the key. Stay healthy. But yeah, Spence, especially amidst all that you continue to go through, it is an honor to still read your replies, and the fact that you're still listening and even interacting, brother. Cannot appreciate you enough. Hope you're doing well, man. All the best, always. At Baseball Tzar says, I think he can. If they pitch around him, put him back hitting second and bat Soto third. I can't see them pitching around him then. Well, either way, if Soto is still batting second and kicking ass, and then at least one person behind him is still a threat to drive in runs or is even doing well in general, it's still going to be that same thing. But yeah, it is something to consider. The fact that he could be pitched around. We'll see. My good buddy Rebecca's next, at Peace Now for Life, and she says, I say Judge has a great chance to come close to his 2022 home run total. He's so consistently locked in. I wouldn't be surprised if he surpassed 2022. Man, that would be something. To witness that, I don't even have any words right now, let alone if it is to actually happen. At Locum Doc 2 says, I think he is fully aware that only in the steroid era was 60 pushed consistently. It's on his radar and he will do it and distinguish himself. Hell yeah. Yeah, similarly to that, one of those original replies that we had gotten. So, yeah, it's definitely worth mentioning. You're not wrong. At Ray Doria says, yes, 65. Holy crap. That would be something. All right. Final two, as per usual. First up, my girlfriend at Vic Salimo. And Vic says, at his current pace, I think he could reach his 2022 home run total again and maybe even surpass it. It's not impossible. I have faith in my captain. Hell yeah. I don't know how anybody could have ever abandoned that faith just after a few weeks of struggling after everything this man has accomplished. I know that some people are continuously and routinely hard on him for the fact that he has not won a title yet and led them to such a thing, even though that is very much a team thing as well. Have to be honest with that. But yeah, I definitely do think that a title, of course, will distinguish him much, unlike many other athletes, period. But when it comes to personal individual accomplishments, after all the records he has shattered, after all he has accomplished, it is still plain unbelievable to me, as I'm sure it is for many of my other fellow Extreme Judge believers, that I will look back on the month of April, and after about 3 or 4 weeks, even though, yes, even I admitted that he had to get going for the Yankees to experience any true success, that all it took, after all of his personal individual accomplishments, that he is still very gracious about and credits the entire team overall for. I'm still shocked that all it took was 3 or 4 weeks of heavy slumping. Yes, I won't mince words. Heavy slumping in order to just utterly throw in the towel on him. Even go as far to say to send him down to the minors for a week to get right, or take the captain title away from him. All it took was a few weeks. That's all it took. People said he was done. Yeah, it's honestly hilarious. It really is. The laughing track there is appropriate. But I said it, man, as long as he's healthy, duck and cover for when the coin flips over. So just stay healthy. And yeah, no reason to not have that faith, babe, for sure. Last but certainly not least is my mom, Julia Gina Scudero, saying, "Hi, Mike." "Hey, Mom. So glad you're back and also enjoyed Lake George last week." Thank you very much. I very much did, and I'm glad to be back. To answer your question, yes, I do believe that if Aaron Judge continues to play as he is now, he might actually surpass his home runs of 2 seasons ago. My answer is yes. I actually will make a prediction of 65 home runs. Enjoying the hell out of this season so far. Please stay with us, Yankees, all the way to the end. Well, agreeing with that other reply, just a couple of replies ago, somebody else said 65 homers. Well, guys, I wouldn't even know what to say in the event of that. I'd just be speechless. Be just utterly dumbfounded. In a good way, but definitely dumbfounded. It'd be a dream. What can I tell you? This episode was also a dream, though, because of all of the amazing things that we got to celebrate the Yankees of doing of late, and also throughout the entire season as a whole, and just having a great time. Honestly, between the sound effects, the clips, all the exciting discussion, I hope you guys had half as good of a time listening as I did recording it. This is an episode for the record books for sure. Very much enjoyed episode 221 here today. I hope you did as well. It is for you, of course, more than anything, despite how much fun I have doing it and how much of a therapeutic instrument this microphone tends to be for me. But nonetheless, guys, as much fun as it has been, that is all for episode 221 today. Remember to follow me on all socials. Mike Scudero NY is my Facebook fan page. Twitter or X is at Mike Scudero. My Instagram is MikeScuds97. Subscribe to Yapping Yankees on all 4 platforms it is available on: YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment wherever you may be listening. Just keep on showing your love to Yapping Yankees like you all always do such a great job at doing, my friends. And if you have missed any past Yapping Yankees episodes, you guys know the deal. Episodes 34 all the way up to today's episode 221. Those are all available on YouTube, and every single Yapping Yankees episode that has ever come out since episode 1 all the way up to today, those are all available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. But once again, I thank you 3,000 for listening to me yap today. As always, my good friends, I have been your host, Mike Scudero, and we shall yap again next Sunday, June 9th, when I come at you with episode 222 of Yapping Yankees. But until then, as always, hang in there, be patient, stay safe, look out for your loved ones. Go ahead and kick life's ass this week, my friends, as I always encourage you to do. But I'm afraid that no matter how hard we choose to kick life's ass this week, it will still not be as severely as the Yankees have been kicking everybody's ass of late. But still, let them be an inspiration to us all, I guess. I guess that's what we could say. And I'm confident that it will definitely at least continue against the Twins this week, but next weekend should definitely be a ton of fun against the Dodgers, and let's hope they continue their extreme success then. But nonetheless, let's just hope for yet another thrilling week of what has already been an extraordinary season of 2024 Yankees baseball, all continuing to culminate into epic Yapping Yankees episodes such as this one, and 222 shall follow suit if this coming week repeats the epicness. Just keep winning series. That's all I ask, and it's what they have done a phenomenal job at doing for well over a month now. But otherwise, again, until next Sunday the 9th, my friends, take care, and let's go Yanks!